So we finally start believing again. This is the preview of Pakistan New Zealand. What was a few days ago shaping up to be a bit of a dead rubber now suddenly has incredible amounts of meaning for both teams. I've got Zahid with me. Zahid, we couldn't have asked for a better gift from South Africa. I mean, there was Dean Elgar 11 years ago, and today there was Quinton de Kock, VDD,
Yeah, Janssen, Maharaj, everyone when you
all
needed
that.
it, cleaning up the lower order. The last wicket partnership hung on a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, a 190 run victory for South Africa would have been way beyond our wildest dreams, especially beyond mine because I had New Zealand to win this. But it was really strange actually the way South Africa played. I think because the whole of Pakistan was supporting them, so they started playing
So they
like
embodied the
Pakistan.
Pakistan spirit. I mean, there was a small difference in quality in the middle order that helped them
Yeah.
deliver that
But
impetus and not stop in 280 to 90.
But for the first 35 overs, they're going at four and a half, fives, just, and you were like, wow, when are they going to launch? And they kept delaying it. And in the end, I mean, 357 is what they got. Phenomenal. I mean, thanks to the power of Miller and Markram at the end as well with his one ball six.
He's got the best
So,
strike rate of them all now.
so yeah, I mean, and then obviously with the bowling as well, I thought New Zealand would at least get close because they would be sensible with it. Once the game was out of their hands, they would have at least tried to get close to the target. But they just kept losing because I think prior to South Africa, it wasn't like New Zealand. Okay, I think the Daryl Mitchell wicket and one or two others, but most of the other ones were actually just good bowling. So full credit to South Africa. Again, another game where the team that's won the toss has lost the game. Honestly, I don't know what Tom Latham was doing,
No, well, let's just think
handling the
about
game.
that. Let's just think about it. I mean, if New Zealand won the toss and you paused at that time and asked me, Moin, if I told you South Africa were going to win by 190 runs, I would have been shocked in disbelief. This is when he's just won the toss and not told us what he's going to do.
Yeah,
And then suddenly when he said, we're going to have a bowl, I was like, what? And look, let's understand why, right? I mean, they probably just went by past records. Pune has been won, the games have been won by, in the World Cup, been won by the team
yeah,
chasing, but that's only because they've been low scores that have been
yeah,
defended, right? You can't look too much into that. If you would stretch further back, I think it's even Stevens when it comes to number of games won by the team batting first and batting
yeah.
second. I think they back themselves to be good chasers. Maybe scarred by the India game, I don't know. But yeah, that was a real surprise to me because there's a clear weakness that your opposition has in chasing, and people will say maybe that's being defensive and talk and thinking more about the other team's strengths than yours. But I actually think no. I mean, you need to do tactically what the doctor orders, and it depends on the team you're playing against.
Yeah, exactly. And in the post match presentation, he said that they were okay with 330, 340, which again, judging by their chase.
I mean, sure they would have lost by 170. I mean, okay, great,
But I think, look, in all fairness to them, I think they did lose Matt Henry and Nisham also got injured. So obviously their bowling was weakened, but I don't think there was a 190 run difference.
This was a really strange New Zealand performance. So there were pockets when you're like, wow, okay, their ground fielding is terrific.
Yeah,
I mean, the number of like it could have easily been 380
yeah,
to 370, but their catching was weaker today, right?
yeah,
I think on most days you'd expect Trent Bolt to take the catch that he dropped. There were a couple of other instances. Obviously, the one where it went for six after the drop. I mean,
yeah.
those
There's a
things.
there was a run out also,
There was a run
which
out, of course.
the one when Nisham got injured. Yeah,
Yeah, so looking ahead now to the New
yeah,
Zealand Pakistan game, right? It's quite interesting for New Zealand because New Zealand find themselves in not too dissimilar a place from where we were, right? So there are three
yeah,
losses on the trot. You know, they've got more injury problems than any other team
yeah,
at this point in time. I don't even know whether they can field a balanced 11.
yeah.
you know,
There's some fine tuning of how they go about it with their bowling combination. I think Ishodi might probably get a chance just because of Pakistan's track record against wrist spin. But overall, to be honest, I don't think there's anything different that they need to do. Um, Whereas Pakistan, maybe we can discuss um, from the 11. Probably not a lot to change, but I think in terms of the approach, they might need to tweak it a little bit.
No,
Given the fact that they also need to have in mind that they should win the game by 80 plus runs for the net run rate situation.
but just talking about New Zealand for a second, right?
Yeah,
Ish Sodhi, that's an interesting point, right? I mean, Pakistan have clear struggles against leg
yeah,
spin, and it's almost we look so good sometimes against other types of bowling, and then we look like complete amateurs when wrist spin comes on. I have no idea why, but do you do anything different here? Because interestingly, Pakistan, um, have won more games chasing than defending, despite winning more tosses and batting first than the other way around, right? So if that's anything to go by, that's saying Pakistan have no idea what they're good at
yeah.
doing. But no, in all seriousness, I think if that's anything to go by, I think if you're New Zealand, you would typically want to perhaps bowl first,
Yeah,
just because that's what they're good at. And I don't see that bowling attack, given the injuries, defending a total in Bengaluru.
yeah. I think they would back themselves to chase whatever Pakistan get. A, because of Pakistan's inability to calibrate what the right score should be. And I think for Pakistan, and from a Pakistan point of view, I just hope Babar Azam doesn't see this game as the template for the New Zealand game, because Pakistan will get to 150 in 30 overs and they're not going to get to 357 like South Africa did. So he needs to realize he needs to get ahead of the game straight away. And then for Pakistan, it'll be a 280, 290, maybe 300 if they get lucky. And New Zealand are going to chase that down in Bengaluru. So
Yeah, no,
I just,
absolutely. Uh, but Pakistan have a slight difficulty, right? Because on one hand, you want to win the game, right? And you think, okay, winning the game, the bet you have to bowl first. It's your best chance.
yeah,
But there's a small matter of net run rate, right? Which is a very confusing calculation, not
yeah,
because of the calculation, but because of the sort of nuances of batting first
yeah,
versus batting second, right?
yeah.
The issue here is Pakistan winning by 86 runs just sounds more likely than scoring a target of around 300 in
Yeah,
35 overs. You
yeah.
know? So,
I look. I don't think, to be very honest with you, this is a weird thing for me to say, given that how I'm always nitpicking issues with Pakistan cricket. But I don't think they should think about that yet. They should first think about winning the game, and once they get into a position where they feel like they can dominate, then maybe do it. Whether it's chasing, maybe restrict them to 230, 240, 250, something like that, and then try and chase that in 35 overs. If New Zealand get 300, there's no chance anyway. That's akin to Pakistan batting first and scoring 230, 240. There's no way you're going to, win by 86 runs if you do that.
moving on to personnel,
Yeah,
right? Because now let's talk about the circus of Pakistan spinners here, right?
yeah,
I mean, it makes us look silly. It makes all the experts on every channel look silly. Because
yeah,
let's face it, the difference in quality between these three is marginal, right? This is the
yeah,
worst spin attack in this World Cup. I'm
yeah.
sorry that hurts
It
people,
is.
but it is, right? Numbers don't lie. So honestly, I've now resigned myself to the fact that they're all so inconsistent. Usama Mir has one good game and then looks so ordinary in the next that you're not going to get much different depending on what you choose. So I
Yeah,
almost think Shadab comes in just because
yeah.
of his batting.
I think that's what's going to happen regardless. If Shadab is fit, he will. I think he was meant to play that Bangladesh game. It was just because he probably still was recovering from his concussion. But I think Shadab will come back straight in. The only issue I think now is you got away with it against Bangladesh, sort of against South Africa, but the new ball against Conway and the New Zealand top order, I think it's going to be difficult. So you cannot. Okay, on paper, Iftikhar is a lefty versus off spinner matchup, but I would not take that risk against Conway.
I mean, I don't mind doing it for 1 or 2 overs, but then if you think that this guy has to bowl 5 overs like a proper new ball bowler, I think you
Yeah,
have a problem, right? And
exactly.
I hope Babar, after trying him out for 2 overs, because let's face it, he will.
Yeah,
Um, I'd want him to prioritize bowling Wasim. I think
yeah,
Wasim do a better job in those 10 overs than
Yeah,
Haris. The issue
agreed.
I have with Haris is he has that control issue, right? And
Yeah,
clearly it's not improving. Yes, okay, he picked up that wicket, yes, but he did give away 12 runs, right? And
yeah.
and against a very quality side, I think he can do it after 10 overs, but I think before 10 overs, I would bowl the seam.
Fakhar Zaman gets going again. I think that's going to be the big difference between, say, 340, 350 and a 280, 290. Because if he doesn't get going, then it'll be the
I
same
mean,
old
then we
story
go back to
again.
same old story, right? I mean, the only difference is you may have a bit
Yeah,
more strength in the lower
yeah,
order. But
yeah.
anyways, but please
So,
don't forget our quality tail. I mean, that tail needs to live up to its billing with batting. We have built it up so much that this is one of the better tails in the competition. They all can hit a few sixes. They all can stick around, and then they just show you that what what works in the PSL is so
yeah.
different to what works in a global international tournament. You know what I mean? Like,
And if you look at it, right, I mean, okay, this is like really nitpicking, but Pakistan's what, 80 odd runs, or 160 runs behind New Zealand now in the net run rate. That Australia game, New Zealand lost by 5 runs. Pakistan lost by 60 something runs with still 5 overs to spare. They could have just batted out and, gotten 20, 30 runs more. Same thing against India, even
same
in the
thing against
Netherlands
South
game,
Africa.
South Africa. So all those now have, 20, 30 runs in every game. Have added up. And okay, you may have lost all of those games, but still those 60 or 100 runs, they would have come in really handy.
Look, I mean, Babar Azam, right? He has been through a lot. Okay.
Hmm.
And he finally, you could see him smile just a little bit. I was actually quite happy to see that after the Bangladesh game, there weren't any like massive celebrations,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think it's because it's Bangladesh. I think it's more just because they know that there's still a job to do, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of you know improvement in terms of how they've performed till date.
Yeah.
So that made me feel a bit reassured that
Yeah.
unlike in the Australia game where we walked off after conceding 360 as if we were national heroes because Shaheen got a 5 wicket haul and we restricted them to under
Yeah.
400, which looked likely.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying why are they walking it off as if they won the game, but now it seems as if
Yeah.
they understand the gravity and the magnitude. I hope
Great.
that translates into a performance of note.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think a few players are more key than others. Right, you've talked
Yeah.
about Fakhar Zaman. Right, we've talked at length in our previous episode. I'm actually going to turn my attention to Iftikhar here. Right,
Yeah.
Iftikhar was billing up to be sort of one of the unsung heroes of this campaign. A
Yeah.
title I'm sure everyone will agree is taken by Abdullah Shafiq at this point in time. But I think he's just come off a little, right? In some games where you expected him just to do a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
I'm mainly talking about the South Africa game, right? When you were 20 of 30, he seemed to have been promoted. Bad call, but he
Yeah.
had a job to do, right? And
True.
there are times when Iftikhar looks really good, and there are times when he looks very average, especially against spin.
Yeah.
And my big issue is in today's world, you can't hide your weaknesses. They get
Yeah.
caught like that. And that's why I am a bit concerned that Ish Sodhi will play, and he's
Yeah.
literally going to have a matchup against
Yeah.
Iftikhar. And I'm
Yeah.
not so convinced Iftikhar has the time to develop his game
Yeah.
in order to do it, right? So this is what's getting to me a bit because okay, sure, Afghanistan didn't have a choice but have those three fast bowlers bowl
Yeah.
and he whacked them, right? And there's also
Yeah.
quality of fast bowling here at play.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm just a bit concerned of. I think Iftikhar has a much bigger role in the team than he thought he would have because of his
Yeah.
new ball bowling.
Yeah. But anyways, final thoughts. Moving on to predictions.
I'm gonna
Why don't you
let
go
you go
first?
first because I always
Okay.
go
Okay.
first. I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. Look, I always say this. It's a head versus heart thing. Again, I'm just gonna go with what I think is going to happen on paper, and the heartbreak for Pakistan cricket. I think New Zealand will win, unfortunately.
I'm going to
And
stop you there. Stop. So are you saying if you had money on the line, because that's your justification, you would
yeah,
actually back New Zealand?
yeah, I would. I just look. It's New Zealand. I don't see them losing four in a row.
Yeah.
And B, look, I think Pakistan still, at the end of it, for all the good things they did against Bangladesh, they've only played well against Netherlands, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. And New Zealand is a cut above them. So, and I think Pakistan's bowling and New Zealand's batting, I still am not fully convinced by the rest of Pakistan's bowling, Shaheen Afridi aside. I'm gonna say New Zealand. I'm gonna say Devon Conway, Ish Sodhi if he plays for Pakistan, Abdullah Shafiq, and Shaheen Afridi.
So look, I completely agree with you that 4 losses is too much for a New Zealand team. But if you had told me before that 3 losses on the trot is a lot, I would have also agreed with you, right? Because even to think that New Zealand will lose 3 in a row is also a bit outrageous. So for me, that argument's gone. Even Pakistan losing 4 in a row is a bit, I mean, 4 in a row is consistency that Pakistan is not famous for, if you put it that way. But so I actually think Pakistan, if Williamson doesn't play, I think there's a small chance he will. But I'm going for Pakistan. Babar Azam. I want a repeat of 2019. Okay, nothing more, nothing less. And
No, no,
I
not the
am
strike, please. Not the strike rate though. Not 100 of
not the
120.
no 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 no. Yes, yes, very important. Yes, very important point you made this. And I'm actually gonna go in the bowling with Shine Afridi. I was gonna go with the left people. I'm going Shine Afridi. Okay, and then on New Zealand side, I'm gonna go with Daryl Mitchell, and I'm going to go with um, I think Trent Bolt.
There you go. So there you have it. Pakistan won, New Zealand won in terms of our predictions. Let's see what happens. It's going to be a massive game now, especially from Pakistan's point of view. Not just the result, but actually the margin of victory. But fingers crossed from a Pakistan point of view that they can pull through and keep the World Cup alive for the sake of the World Cup as well. That
Exactly,
Pakistan win, not for
exactly.
any other reason. But thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thank you.